You know those Canadian sandwiches are so delicious.
Back bacon.
You mean ham?
Yeah. No,
Nobody says back bacon.
Nobody.
Maybe in like New Brunswick or something.
I think the only time I like qualify it as back bacon, and even though it's still just ham, is like when you get the shit with like the
yellow
meal,
stuff,
the cornmeal around it. I'm like, that's back bacon, and it's dry and it's gross, and no one actually likes it.
I don't mind it.
You gotta cook it just right. You dry
right.
it. It's gross.
But would you want that or
it's
bacon?
easy to dry
Yeah,
it.
but what's your choice?
Of course, right? Yeah.
Ask another stupid question.
Yeah. Duh.
Bacon.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to COGconnected's 2017 Game of the Year podcast. My name is Paul Sullivan, and I am your host this afternoon. To my left, digitally and physically, we've got Shawn Petraschuk.
Heyo.
And to his left, even further to my left or my right, Trevor Houston.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so let's dive right into this.
We're gonna talk about some games.
We are going to talk about some games.
Let's talk about some games, fellas.
Maybe first we should explain how we went about our Game of the Year this year. We sent out a big list of games to everyone who writes for COG.
I thought it was a cage match. We got in a cage. We all had a game.
That's going to happen now.
Oh, okay.
Do we grease up first?
You go ahead. I'll be right behind you. So we sent out a big list to our team, and they all voted on a bunch of different categories. So what we're going to do here is talk about the top 10 games of the year that came out of that. The very, very best. Cream of the crop.
Yeah, I mean, also, of course, we should probably let everybody know that we dive into a ton of other categories, but we just don't want to spend 5 hours talking about them because I don't know if we can keep people interested for that long. So we're going to have all those videos up on the YouTubes pretty quick. I mean, we'll probably get over that within the next few weeks here, right?
Multiple of the YouTubes, in fact.
Yeah, like lots of the YouTubes.
Yeah, we'll have that out before the end of the year.
But our focus now is definitely going to be explicitly and only on our Game of the Year.
The cream of the crop.
The best of the best.
So let's start with number 10.
Number 10. How do you say 10 in Spanish?
10. No, that's French.
I can't remember. I was going to count down in another language, but I just realized I don't know it. So number 10.
Drum roll. There should be a drum roll soundbite. There we go.
You're going to have to do a soundbite because my rhythm is off.
Yeah, that's definitely peaking the mic. So I'll insert a drum roll.
The number 10 best game of the year is
Night in the Woods.
Very deserving. Very deserving. I love seeing indie games crack big categories every year. And for anybody who actually played Night in the Woods, they're probably nodding their head in agreement. I mean, for people who haven't played it, they probably are like, what game is this? But it's a very unique, very stylish, very cool adventure with probably some of the most compelling characters you'll come across in a game this year.
Yeah, it's got some really hard-hitting dialogue, and it broaches some really tough topics. It gets you right in the feels.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more surprising games, too. Like, I think if you look back a year ago, this wasn't on anybody's radar. So the fact that we're talking about it as being in our top 10 of the games a year that has been pretty incredible. We've all been pretty spoiled this year with not getting a lot of games launched that are completely screwed up. It's been overall a good year. Like, there hasn't been any disasters, and we will have some disasters for you when we release our most disappointing and worst games of the year. But
overall, but in general, I mean, try and think back to a year where we were more spoiled. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, 2018's got a lot to live up to.
Big shoes to fill that to be honest, I mean, actually, we've had our most anticipated articles coming out over the past while, and you look at those, and yeah, there's some great games on the horizon, but there's not a lot of concrete dates set yet. We don't really know a lot of what or when exactly certain games are coming out in 2018. I don't think it's going to stack up. I think this year is one we're going to look back on 10 years from now and go, holy shit, guys. Remember 2017? It was that good.
Right.
Moving right along. Number 9.
It's funny. Looking at this, I almost feel bad that we have it here. I mean, I'm looking at the games underneath it, but I guess that just speaks to the testament of how good the games were. But number 9, Cuphead.
Such a punishing frustrating game, especially for an old dog like me, where the reflexes just aren't as good anymore. And man, if there was a game that frustrated the hell out of me, it was Cuphead. But it was equally so satisfying. It's so pretty. The music's fantastic. You really can't say enough things about this spectacular game.
It really scratches that vintage Mega Man kind of itch where it just controls so tightly, but it looks so good at the same time.
You know what's funny though is I was thinking about it, and I kind of got a kick out of how much everybody said about how hard and how punishing it was, and the direct comparisons. Everybody kept saying Contra, which is a completely valid comparison. It really kind of shows. It kind of speaks a testament to how spoiled we are now as gamers, because when you think back to Contra, yeah, it was hard, but look back at games like Shinobi, the Ninja Turtles game on NES, games were hard then. We didn't have save points. We had codes that we had to write down in the back of manuals and everything else. Cuphead is hard, but is it really anything harder than what we played when we were kids?
Probably not.
We're spoiled now. We're just like, no. I dealt with this shit when I was 15. I don't need to do this anymore. Like, that's how hard Cuphead is.
I wanted an easy mode in Cuphead, I won't lie, and I didn't get it, and so that was really bad for me.
But you know what? It is. It's super satisfying when you hit that point. I've spent hour and a half on a single boss, and you're not getting there, and you get to that point where it's just like, I would throw this controller, but it's too expensive to replace, so you have to walk away. So when you come back and you get that point when you finally beat it, you don't get that type of satisfaction in a lot of games anymore. You make your way through a story or something like that, but when you get to beat something particularly difficult that you've worked on, that feeling, that elation you get, that to me is like what I take away from Cuphead.
Agreed on all fronts.
On all fronts.
Number 8.
Drum roll.
This is the worst drum roll ever. Assassin's Creed Origins. Bit of a dark horse, I think, in that a lot of people, let's not forget the day that this game came out and the other games that came out with it. It was a stacked day. We'll talk more about that shortly. But it was kind of one of those games that nobody was talking about pre-release. It was being talked about, but it just didn't have the same buzz as some other games. But as it was released, as people have played it over the past few weeks, buzz started to build. People were talking about how good it is. And it's just one of those games, they completely turned Assassin's Creed kind of on its head. Not completely, but they added a lot of RPG progression that wasn't there. Skill tree type stuff, the weapon progression. Bayek is a great assassin. And it's just really neat to be able to jump in and take a look at how it all started.
Yeah, and I think it avoids the trap that Assassin's Creeds of the past have fallen into of just repeating the same territory or repeating the same stuff. I like how they switched up the combat system, make it a little more complicated, a little more engaging to play. And there's a lot of really interesting side quests. It kind of goes down that Witcher path of having interesting side quests that are worth doing.
They're compelling. Some of them, someone's life is on the line, that sort of thing. It's not your standard fetch quest fare. You have a reason. And Bayek's such a likable character too. Yeah. You see his love for children actually is one of the big focuses, and he will do whatever a kid asks him to, and it's actually quite endearing watching the way that he interacts with those, with younger characters in the course of the game as well. Same team that did Black Flag, and you can just tell that it's the series really benefited from taking that extra time away. Hopefully they continue on that trend. If we get one every 2 years, but it's a great game as opposed to a bag of shit every year, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping this is the trend that Uwe goes with the franchise.
Well, maybe
taking
some
their
other
time and doing it right. I think it paid off this year.
Yeah, and maybe some other publishers will take notice, because being force-fed the same thing year after year with not a lot of changes, people are starting to see through those tricks.
Not naming names. Number 7.
I didn't play this one. I can't comment.
What did some of the team say, Paul?
Well, I actually did play this one. It's Nier Automata, and it's one of the most interesting titles I've played in a long time.
Which for the longest time I thought it was Automata.
Yeah, I love that Nier Automata.
I butchered that for about a good year. I just butchered the name of that game.
I do believe in our actual official video review that Rory, at the beginning of the video, actually pronounces the game wrong. And the comment section is like, do you
Lit
even
up.
video game, bro? He got ripped to shit. Lit up.
The YouTube comment section is ruthless.
It's cancer.
It is.
Ruthless. You cannot get away with one mistake.
No, you can't. And that's why we've pronounced it correctly here.
Yeah, tell us more about it, though.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's like a fast-paced action game. You're running around, and there's a lot of hack and slash, blown up robots, but
You're speaking of my language.
exactly. But at the core, there's a really deep and interesting story about humanity and what it means to be human that I found super, super engaging. And
you have to play this game through once, twice, 3 times
several times.
to truly...
Several times. In fact, the PR team had to put a notice at the end of the first playthrough that maybe you should play through this again because it's just not clear that you should do that and start a new game.
Basically telling me like you're not actually done
it's
yet.
like, yeah, you should keep going. I know you thought this was good, so play it again, and it's a completely different experience every time you play through it. So it's one of the most interesting and surprising games of the year for me.
I know that the main protagonist is hot. I know that much.
2B.
Yeah, that one.
Or not.
Which is kind of a weird name. But
I don't care what her
it's
name is.
2B.
Apparently she's hot. That's all I know. That's literally all I know about the game, apart from what Paul just explained.
Right. There's pretty good 2B cosplay out there, so I'm told. I don't go looking.
I mean, not like
course.
you're a cosplay pro or anything.
No, that's definitely not me.
All right, so let's. I guess we're diving into our number 6 because that's all we have to say about that.
Right.
And our number 6.
Drum roll.
I'm gonna insert our week drum roll again. Persona 5, and that's another game that I never played, but a lot of our team did. I guess it's kind of starting to show. Like we've got 3 old white dudes sitting around this table right now, and we've got a younger team behind us. But maybe that just shows that we're kind of set in our ways now, and we're like, I don't like that shit, and we just don't play it.
I don't know if it's that so much as there's just too many games right now.
There are.
Yeah.
Persona is a game that I would love to have played. I just don't have the 100 hours to get through it.
And I won't argue that it definitely deserves its slot at number 6. I mean, many would argue that it deserves to be way higher on the list.
Right.
It's, as we were talking about before we went live, it's super, super stylish. And in a climate there that's starved at times for really good, really quality JRPGs that don't have that cheese factor that a lot of people don't want to have to slog through anymore. Persona 5 is one of those games that offers that. So, I mean, like I say, it's from what I've heard enough that I'm actually compelled to go out there and probably try it. I'll probably end up picking it up when the price drops a little bit and take a look at it. But like you say, Trevor, it's hard to throw 100 hours behind anything now when, wife, kids, dogs, cats, mortgages.
Give it all up. Just play Persona.
Right. Like it received a ton of votes. I always look forward to January because I can go back and play some of these great games from the previous year and sort of catch up on the backlog. Persona's going to be there for me next month. No question.
There's actually, I don't want to skip ahead too much, but as far as I can tell too, there's actually some decent games on the horizon for January and February, so there's really no rest for the wicked.
Never any rest.
All right, cracking into the top 5.
The most important games of the year.
The very, very best. Number 5 is Hellblade.
Senua's Sacrifice. That is a great game. We are looking at our entire team here, so we're giving everybody props on the choices that we made collectively. I might have put this higher on my list. It's a really good game. It has so much to talk about. It shows what a team can do on a limited budget.
Right.
With a smaller team. They can put out a game worth playing. Visually stunning game. Holy shit, does it look good. For all these arguments about, you need to spend millions and millions of dollars to make a game look good, Ninja Theory kind of says, actually, guys, no, you don't. And that's exactly what we got with Hellblade.
Absolutely. Some of the most compelling character animation in any game ever on a tiny budget with a tiny team and with an actress who has no experience doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, she'd never done it before. Never done it before.
Incredible.
She actually didn't even know how to pick out an outfit for the Game Awards. She wore a mocap suit. She's really new to the industry. She clearly did not stroll the red carpet.
And I mean, I know the narrative and the story is certainly the star of the show, but it's got all sorts of gameplay mechanics that are fantastic. The puzzles are challenging. The combat I found challenging as well.
It might come down to the old man reflexes.
Well, yeah, sure it does. And I'm definitely looking, and there will be a sequel, and the sequel will be just probably twice as good as Hellblade. So,
and I mean, obviously, we don't want to give one thing with the Game of the Year, in comparison to some of our other categories where we might dive a little bit deeper. But this is like an overarching kind of look at things, so we don't want to really give too much away or spoil anything for people. But with Hellblade specifically, it's just one of those games that is going to leave a mark on you. Mm-hmm. It can actually be incredibly hard to play through. You put a pair of headphones on, and even right from the opening scene, right from the opening credits right through to the bitter end, you're seeing the worst of what a person who deals with schizophrenia, with psychosis, has to deal with. And you're hearing these voices all around you, and it's going to make your skin crawl. It's really uncomfortable. And it confronts in it a way that, throws it in the face of the player that this is something very real that people deal with.
Yeah, I like that it does not shy away from the reality that a lot of people experience day to day with something like schizophrenia or any kind of psychosis. And I think this is a great way to smash that stigma with a lot of people by putting them in the shoes of someone who's feeling that way. And I just thought the whole game was incredible.
And you do bring up a really good point, because in reading after the game was released, following on Twitter and everything else, there was an overwhelming sense of empathy for Senua, and people were smart enough to equate that, that take it further than being a video game character and going, this is something real world. This is something people deal with. And I saw a flow of stuff on Twitter in terms of, if someone needs help and here's the number, it affected people. And that's the power of a good game. And it's the perfect example when people want to argue our game's art, you better damn believe it. This is definitely a game's art.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's ultimately why it needs to be in our certainly in our top 10 and in our top 5. It's an eye opener, and it makes you realize, wow, there's people out there that are tortured like this. So I don't know. I think it's definitely a powerful game, worthy of our top 5 for sure. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what's next to come from the franchise for sure.
Number 4. This was a tough one, but we came down to it, and it's Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Great goddamn game.
I mean, I am such a fan of the franchise, and then they just kicked it up with the sequel here. They just kicked it up times 100. Like, it's better than the other ones by far. And the story is so compelling. The shooting, there really isn't much I don't like about the game. Like,
I didn't like the fact that I had to turn it to easy. I don't like the fact that it made fun of me for putting it on Can I Play Daddy, because I tried to put it on, I can't remember what the name of the normal mode is. I'm like, I got this shit on normal, and I got about halfway through. I think it was the courtroom scene. I think the courtroom scene threw me over, and I finally got to the point where, this is our podcast, we're allowed to swear if we want. I literally got to the point where I threw my hands up in frustration and was, fuck this shit. And I had to drop difficulty. It's really friggin' hard.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to, but I was like, no. Did you
slug through?
I slugged through.
You are a champion among men.
And over. But I think that's kind of what the game wanted you to do. It didn't want you to just sort of steamroll through the levels. It really wants you to find your way, and there's various styles to do that. Find your way to make it through and survive just the relentless onslaught of enemies.
And relentless is a good way.
And that's like the theme of the whole game, is slogging through a relentless onslaught. If you think about the story, it's this band of freedom fighters, which you've seen a million times before, but they did such a good job of building out each one of those characters into their own unique arc. story-wise, I don't know if it's the best of the year, but it's very, very close.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you say, pointing it out, the cast of characters is fantastic. Every character is expertly portrayed. I mean, a lot of the time, you're going to get a game that'll suffer where it's got, say, 3 or 4 really great actors, and then you got one that just doesn't keep up with the rest. It's a completely well-rounded cast, and it's not afraid to throw a little bit of shade in the face of, I mean, we can say it because it's 3 white dudes sitting around a table, but they throw it right in the face of white America. What if the Nazis won, and how comfortable white America just settled into it. It's confrontational. I believe the word you used for it, Paul, was fearless. They're not afraid to go, hey, this is what would have happened. What do you guys really think about that? And we stand back, and maybe we'd like to be offended, but we know maybe there's a part of it that's true. You're confronted with some uncomfortable things. And then add on the story, which, again, it's one of those things where you don't want to spoil this for anybody, because if you haven't played this game, it's been on sale already, like ridiculous. Go get it. Go play it. Go scoop it up.
Right.
It's so good.
and we talked about there's been articles on COGconnected.com. I'm a company man. COGconnected, www.COGconnected.com.
Would you like to spell it out for them?
Well, and there was an article yesterday that talked about how sales have been particularly bad for this game. I mean, now though, granted, that's retail sales. We don't have digital numbers, but still, I was quite surprised to see the low sales and that there's not a lot of people. It doesn't appear that there are a lot of people playing this game, and they absolutely should be.
Is it a victim of October 27th, 2017?
Probably.
October. That's what the reference
Same
that I
as
made a little
Assassin's
earlier.
Creed.
Assassin's Creed, Wolfenstein 2, and Super Mario Odyssey, which we'll get into shortly.
And then the following week would have been Call of Duty.
So there you go. I mean, you're talking about a release window that is
Brutal.
so stacked. So stacked. I mean, there's very few people who are in that position to go, I get all the games.
Well, I guess it just goes to show how confident they were in the quality of this game.
And
to wade into
so.
that.
Deservedly so.
This happened last year with a game, though. That same thing was a victim of when it
Timing?
was released. And I'm trying to remember what that game was. And was it Titanfall 2? Yeah, I believe it was.
Titanfall 2, yeah.
Same thing.
Battlefield 1 came out at the same time as Titanfall 2. Is that what it was? I believe it was Battlefield 1.
Maybe.
And Titanfall 2. And something else came out around that time as well.
But it was well documented how sales were just horrific for Titanfall 2. Yet it's a great game.
Hey, but
so I hate to see that the same sort of demise happen here.
Well, hey, we can be excited for Titanfall 3 because Respawn has been wholly bought by Electronic Arts, and we know they're going to do nothing but good things.
Right.
They wouldn't dare do anything that's untoward to the customer.
That's
the
anti-consumer. No,
not at all.
No.
Moving on.
The top three.
The top three.
The granddaddies of them all.
I think, if you've come this far, you've got to know what our top three are. The question is, what order did we put them in? And
you know what? To be fair, I think with a year that is so ridiculously stacked, if you're in the top, it's that cheesy, cliched phrase, but they're all winners. And you know what I mean? Picking one out of these three is really hard.
And I would have to double check our scores on COGconnected.com, but I believe we gave all three of these games perfect scores.
100, 100, 100.
You are correct,
Which,
Trevor.
and in our existence, I don't think we're in double digits for perfect scores. We don't
I
give
did
them
check
out.
this. There are six.
There are 6 games.
And 3 were this year.
What does
That's
that tell you?
insane.
What does that tell you?
That's insane. Wow.
So let's just do this.
All right, number
three, the third best game of the year.
It feels almost wrong.
It is wrong.
Any other year, this is number 1, hands down.
Pretty much, yeah.
And a lot of people are going to probably want to yell at us that we put it at 3. But it's our goddamn show.
And we do what we want. So
We call the shots.
number 3 is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
And I can hear a chorus of boos from Nintendo fans in the background.
And from our staff that all gave Zelda
our staff
number 1.
voted on this. Our staff voted on this, so you know, they had their say.
A lot of them wanted this number 1. There's no denying.
There were a few that wanted it number 1. It just didn't work out that way. That's not how it all shook out.
No.
But Breath of the Wild is an incredible game. I mean, they really went out of their way to turn Zelda on its head and make it this massive open world that's just this interplay of systems.
I really want you to get out of my head because literally the phrase in my head was, they really turned Zelda on its head. How the hell did you do that?
Well, wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, I don't know if you could really explain it better than saying that they turned the entire franchise really on its head. The breadth, the size of the open world. Oh my God, dog.
He wants to come in bad.
Timing is awful.
God damn it, Sheba. Anyway, getting back to it. Yeah, the size of the world. They did something with Zelda that obviously we weren't really expecting it. We knew that it was going to be big. We knew when they announced Zelda that it was going to be different. It was going to be big. But I don't think anybody expected exactly how big.
Yeah. We always talk about you can see those mountains. You can go there. Mm-hmm. But this took that to the next level where there's so many systems at play in the game. It's, can I do this? And the answer was always yes.
Always yes.
Surfing on your shield, things like that.
Right.
It's just this incredible interplay of systems, and there are all kinds of videos on the YouTubes. Showing off how weird and wacky the systems are and how deep they thought about things. I saw some
neat videos on how the hang gliding, like how some people use the hang gliding to their advantage and like crossing entire spans of the map with it. I kind of want to jump back in now, mostly for the dirt bike. I really want to play with the dirt bike because it looks kind of badass.
Yeah, it's truly an incredible game, and like I've told people time and time again, look, if you only have to buy a Switch and Zelda, and you'll be happy for a long time. You can just buy one game,
and it's 100 hours. Easy.
Right,
you can dive into it. I mean, just get
all you need to do.
Just get all the Korok seeds alone, and you're gonna be busy.
Has anyone actually done that?
I believe it's been done. I mean, as we've talked about, if you really want to know, there's one place you could probably find it, and that would be the YouTubes.
Really? I was going to say www.COGconnected.com.
Yes,
I don't know if have we covered that one? We better cover our ass and make sure that article goes up
let's
tomorrow.
Double check. Yeah.
So tomorrow that article will be going up. So now people are going, which horse are these guys riding into the very bitter end?
What can possibly beat Zelda?
Stupid Doge.
So I'm kind of thinking maybe we should just go straight to number 1 so that and then come back to number 2.
Why?
Because
reasons?
Suspense.
Because reasons? But isn't the suspense for number 1?
If we talk about we're giving away what number 1 is if we talk about number 2.
But if we
pretty much
talk about number 1, they're going to know what number 2 is.
I know, but isn't number 1 more important? That's why it's number 1.
You two are both making my head hurt.
I think I understand his reasoning in saying the suspense for number 2 isn't nearly as crazy as the suspense for number 1.
Okay.
I think. I'm not 100%.
Should we do number 1?
I think you two should rock, paper, scissors this one.
Rochambeau. Well, just like, how about we just do things my way?
Yeah.
And
as the host, I think we should do number 1 first.
He's got a point, that bastard.
I think we've given him too much power here, Trevor.
Well, it always goes right to my head.
I think I see his point. I'm good with that. Let's do it. Let's throw conventions on their head and go with number 1. Who wants
Because ultimately in our debate, like if you look at the number 1 pick, and we really debated this, who was pushing harder for number 1 here?
I do believe it was Paul.
I believe it was Paul.
Yeah?
It was probably me.
Probably Paul.
Probably Paul.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's talk about number 1 and then talk about number 2.
Number 1, the best game of 2017. Did you hear? We're going to insert the Sheba Shuffle into there as the drum roll.
You know the mic picked that up.
Absolutely.
The whole time she's walking around, I'm like, dog, just lie somewhere. God. No, I'm going to go scratch at the door first. And then I'm going to go outside, and the second you let me outside, I'm going to scratch on the door to come back in because I'm a bitch. Well, no,
Anyways, digressing.
All right, number 1.
Best game of the year is Super Mario Odyssey.
Da-da! What? Can't believe it.
What?
Wow.
One of the other games that got 100 this year. Mario Odyssey is the perfect distillation of the Mario formula. Taking what Super Mario 64 did 20 years ago and just perfecting every aspect of it. It is so tight controlling. It looks beautiful. There's so much to do with over 800 moons to collect.
Well, 999.
Technically, if you want to buy some.
But they don't actually cost you anything.
Yeah. Take note, some companies.
Yeah, it's not... You don't really buy them, but you buy them.
You buy them with in-game currency.
That you cannot purchase externally from the game.
But Mario Odyssey was just the most fun I had playing a game this year. I was just in awe of everything that happened. Every level, one after the other. It was just jaw-dropping every single time you landed the Odyssey and discovered what there was to find in that level. It was incredible.
And was there ever a point when playing it that... I mean, especially for someone who's looking at it through what I like to call nostalgia goggles, which a lot of the market is. I mean, a lot of the market is looking at this game through nostalgia goggles and going, I'm going to play this with my kids. You know what I mean? But at what point did you stop smiling?
You don't.
You have a smile on your face from start to finish with this game, and it's so vivid and it's so bright, and it takes conventions that we've known for years. It doesn't... I mean, there's few things that it does that are new, but they are new to the franchise. There's nothing groundbreaking, but it's all put together in such a way with such a familiar face that you can't help but love it. And when you really get into it, especially when you get into Endgame and getting some of the the later moons, it is a challenging game too. It's not easy.
Yeah, if you go deep and you're in the 500 moon range, you're in some challenging territory.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Some of the speed runs I've seen where you're really utilizing the movesets are really incredible and ballsy, like jumping from levels that are way higher than other levels, and like there's nothing but blank space underneath them, and watching how they navigate and stuff that would take me on a speed run, I'm going, I can get that done in maybe 5 minutes. Or like 30 seconds later. I mean, it's embarrassing, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, our game that is number 2, which we'll get to,
I bet you they have no idea what a number 2 is.
Nobody
They're
does.
all scratching their heads right now.
And we can point out many criticisms for number 2, which is a great game. But I look at Mario and I'm like, man, I can't think of any criticism. Like you said, it's perfection.
Not genuine criticism.
So tight.
You're right.
Name me something you don't like about the game. Like, it's really hard. You're grasping at straws.
But you could maybe name something you don't like about the game, but it's would be 100% purely subjective.
Yeah.
If you look at this game fully objectively, which... I mean, any review has subjectivity, and we've all, anybody who's ever reviewed a game has gotten into this conversation before. A little bit of your personality goes into a review that you write. But if you are able to stand back, objectively look at Super Mario Odyssey, there's nothing wrong with this game.
No.
Nothing.
No, there really
all.
isn't.
And it's just, I mean, and even just some of the simpler things, like you watch, if Mario's ass lands in lava and you watch him run around with his ass on fire uncontrollably, and you've lost control of your character at that point. You don't know what's going to happen, right? You could get yourself in trouble. It's just little things like that it happens, and you smile, and you're like, yeah, this is gaming to me as a kid, brought forward 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said, they've taken that formula that was in Mario 64 20 years ago, but they've added all these little touches that have evolved over that course of time. Like, even the writing in the game is really, really good. There's a lot of really funny little moments and dialogue pieces in there.
And there's some things in there that I keep going back to this is, we're telling people what the great games are, and there's maybe some people out there. I mean, I don't know why you'd be on the fence about this one, but maybe who haven't picked a game up yet. So we don't want to spoil things.
Yeah.
But there are some things that happen in Super Mario Odyssey that you just have to see for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they will make you smile. They might make you cry. Who knows? But there's some things in it that are. There's some really special moments in Mario Odyssey.
Absolutely.
It is the number one best reason to pick up a Nintendo Switch.
I would say over Zelda, which some people might, call heresy, but let's look at the fact that 2 out of our top 3 games are on a Nintendo Switch.
Right.
And after the Wii U, did anybody think that Nintendo would have top anything for Game of the Year again?
No.
Good for them.
They are
back.
rolling.
And they're back in a big way.
They're back for sure. For sure.
I love seeing all the support that console was getting.
And the sales don't lie. People are buying it.
Oh, yeah.
Like in droves.
Mm-hmm. But and games that have been out for 3 or 4 years are now hitting the Switch, and they're getting new life because of the portability of it. People are like, I'm not going to spend that $5 to play it on my Xbox or my PS4 or whatever. It's like, I'll spend $5 because I can take it on the go and I'm flying here and what am I going to do with my time? Oh, look, I've got my Switch. Great move on Nintendo's part.
Absolutely.
And when you are backing it up with anchor franchises like Zelda and Mario, I mean, the only thing that they can do from here that's going to make me smile any bigger is give me Metroid.
And that's got to be coming next year, right?
Oh, God, I hope so.
So, what do you say? Should we go back and talk about lowly number 2?
Go back in time. Can we do a time rewind sound thing too? Let's do that in instant replay. Am I dating myself with an Ace Ventura quote?
No, not at all.
All right, number 2, Horizon Zero Dawn.
This was tough. I really wanted to give it our number 1. I really wanted it to be number 1.
It is an incredible, fantastic achievement that, honestly, I didn't know Guerrilla Games was capable of.
Not after watching Killzone.
Based on the Killzone franchise, but they slayed it. This game is incredible.
It is incredible, and it's it's one of those games that we talk about a game having components that are good, and then a game that the sum of its parts, all the components come together in such a way that it's a fantastic experience. There are things that Horizon Zero Dawn could learn from in that, with the weapon structure, for example, you kind of had everything you needed early on. There wasn't always a lot of reason to go out and push. And like you had mentioned, Paul, explore.
Yeah.
But the story, Aloy is such a likable character. Some of the surprises that you come along in that game too, like, you're not expecting a lot of what you see. God, it's so hard to talk about things sometimes without ruining. It's really hard, but it's just,
But the story really does go some very interesting places.
For sure.
And has a lot of commentary on the state of our world. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one that, I'm really excited to revisit. There's no question that Guerrilla's got a hit on their hands. They took a risk with a brand new IP, which Trevor, you and I had chatted about, was one of the reasons we kind of wanted to throw it at number 1 because Mario is safe. It's fantastic, but it's safe.
And how many Marios are there? Nintendo's had, decades to get it right and to perfect their game.
Yeah.
Guerrilla, 5 years in the making?
Yeah, and it's risky. Dropping a new IP, and especially of the AAA variety, is a lot of money and a lot of time to sink into something that could completely flop.
Could.
Right? But it sure as hell didn't.
No, not at all.
Aloy is, like I had already mentioned, probably one of the more likable characters. You're going to enjoy following her on her journey. And right from the beginning, you do start as young Aloy, and the game right from the start gives you a reason to care for her. And you care for the journey that she goes on.
And you've played it in 4K. What is that? What is that like?
God, it's gorgeous.
I like looking at the game more than I like looking at my wife. That's how pretty the game is.
We shouldn't speak. You shouldn't say that too loud.
She's got headphones on. It's okay.
Yeah, she's watching Grey's Anatomy.
Okay. You're okay.
I'm pretty sure she's I'm pretty sure she's elbow deep in her own tears right now. I'm not sure, but I think McDreamy might be dead by now. I'm not sure.
Well, that's a spoiler.
I'm pretty sure we're safe to. I don't know if we need to put.
There's not a lot of crossover there.
This is not a spoiler cast.
I don't know if we'd have a lot. I don't know if we'd have a lot of Grey's Anatomy fans listening in.
There's at least one. There's at least one person listening to this podcast. McDreamy dies. You son of a bitch!
I was only on season 2.
But yeah, no, I am excited for them to revisit. Probably take a look at the minor criticisms that this game did get. I mean, I'd say it was universally received acclaim, universally loved.
For sure. It's in everybody's top 10, top 5.
Yeah, there's things that it can do better. But as a new franchise going out there, competing with names that we've known for years, it did a hell of a job. And I mean, God, it's pretty in 4K.
I'll go out there and say this is the most stunning game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not close either. Like some of the vistas that you come across in Horizon are, especially in 4K, are ridiculous.
Yeah, I would venture that if you've had the chance to play it in 4K, 2 games that have really stood out for me with the Xbox One X, AC Origins shines over and above its regular vanilla version into 4K. Mm-hmm. And Wolfenstein looks ridiculous. Maybe not so much like in-game, it looks great, don't get me wrong, but a lot of games look fantastic. But the cutscenes on Wolfenstein are pretty bananas. Mm-hmm. Really bananas, as a matter of fact. Really, really good.
How many bananas? A bunch?
In official Donkey Kong Country rating, I believe it would be what's bigger than a bunch? Is it a bushel? Sure. Let's go with it's 5. It's 5 bushels of bananas.
That's high praise.
That's a lot of bananas.
That's pretty bananas.
That's enough to get Donkey Kong banana drunk. Like it's a lot of bananas. So there you have it, though.
That's it. That's our top 10.
Talk about a stacked year. I mean, think about the games that we even left out. Like there's people screaming like, "This didn't make your top 10." You know, that are probably plotting our death, getting ready to what do they call it? Doxing.
Right.
They're gonna. I don't know which of the 3 of us they're gonna dox first, but there's people out there angry that we didn't include their game. I mean, there's so many honorable mentions. We were really spoiled.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to name a few, Divinity Original Sin 2 came really close with a lot of votes. Resident Evil 7,
great game.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. A lot of these games were like on the verge, teetering towards being on the list.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, it's weird. I don't know if I've ever had a year where picking out a top 10 was so excruciating, where you genuinely felt bad not giving props to other games. It really deserved to be in that list.
And like we said, top 3 can be interchangeable. Like either one of them can be number 1 and everybody would be fine with that. So it's just one of those years.
And I mean, and too, like, even look at 10 through 4, there could be arguing from numerous people, well, this game deserves to be up 4 slots and this game should go down a couple slots. But in the end, it just shows how spoiled we were that there can be that much contention. It's not so cut and dry.
Yeah, the year was absolutely stacked, top to bottom. From start to end, too. It wasn't just the end of the year either.
No, you're right. And I mean, like we talked about, 2018's got a lot to live up to, whether or not we get there. I mean, I'm excited to see what's coming. I mean, I know Sony's got a lot on the go. I'm pretty sure we'll see Days Gone. We'll see Spider-Man.
God of War
this year. So Sony's got a lot on the go.
They will undoubtedly have another strong year. It's just...
Yeah. Xbox, I mean, the One X is now officially the most powerful console on the market. So you're going to see a shift back their way for a lot of multi-plat stuff once people are able to maybe afford the console. But
it's a little pricey.
Yeah.
And the TV. You want that
the tube
4K
as well,
TV,
right?
Sure.
But if we're also being honest, Microsoft kind of needs to pull their head out of their ass and really kind of get down on some exclusives that people really want to play. You can't keep giving us Halo and Gears. I mean, not to say that they're not great franchises, but they got a lot of work to do to win an audience in a generation where, to be honest, we're kind of at that point where generations of consoles almost don't exist. I mean, the PS5 will probably eventually come out, but we're at that point now where consoles, we upgraded. We went from the Xbox One to the One S to the X. right? It's the same generation. And in this generation, Sony took an early lead, and it's going to be really hard for Microsoft to dent into that without some exclusive games that you can't play anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't know if at this point Xbox will ever catch up. But you're absolutely right. They do need to do something, and I hope that maybe they are. There's some secret projects out there
I'm hoping
that we don't know about, and that's going to be amazing.
Well,
maybe
that's what E3's for.
Maybe we'll see the Xbox version of a Horizon type game that the studio's been working on for years. That'll be just blow us away when it's released. Maybe that's happening, but right now,
I mean, they do have some things in the hopper. They've got Crackdown, which is presumably going to come out sometime.
oh my god! But come on, it's taking forever.
I've played and it's fun though. It's
fun, but it's not.
It's not a system seller.
I don't know if it's a system seller, and it's everything
I've
I've seen so far
is
is
a
like
system seller. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
No, you're right. They gotta step it up.
Yeah, but again, I mean, we're still spoiled. We're still, I mean, no matter where you choose to play your games,
Right.
whether it's PC, whether it's the Switch, whether it's the Xbox One, whether it's the PS4, there's no shortage of games to play. We've got so many more on the way, and I'm already looking forward to being able to talk about our 2018 games of the year, and I hope we're lucky enough to be able to argue this much again.
Yes,
Next
let's
year.
make sure that happens. So in case you've forgotten, just to count it back down from 10 to 1, the top 10 games of the year as voted by COGconnected: Night in the Woods, Cuphead, Assassin's Creed Origins, Nier Automata, Persona 5, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and number 1, Super Mario Odyssey.
Hurrah!
That's a
Fanfare!
That's a killer list.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm happy to say that, you know, there's a couple games on here that I haven't played that I'm now compelled to play.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm actually, you know, something that I'll actually look to pick up on the cheap, because God knows I'm already elbows deep in games to play.
January is going to be a busy month.
A busy month of relaxing, playing video games.
Yeah, right.
And now, so I guess for, you know, for people who are listening, obviously this would be, they're listening to the podcast for the first time. You're going to want to tune in. This is, what do we call this? We call this officially episode 0.
Day zero.
Day 0, episode 0. You're going to want to tune in. You're going to want to make sure that you subscribe. You're going to hit that little subscribe button there on the iTunes and the Google Play. And tune in for episode 1, where we reveal the official name of the podcast.
Ooh,
suspense, right?
What's it going to be?
Dun, dun, dun. I'm excited.
Literally, we have no idea at this point.
No clue. No clue. We got to see if this podcast even stands on its own.
Yeah, we're going to be coming at you weekly.
Good Lord, weekly.
Weekly with the 3 of us and probably a 4th
Special guest?
Special
guest, maybe a 5th special guest.
Sure.
Who knows?
Sure.
Who knows where we'll go?
On occasion. Every once in a while, maybe my dogs will, you know, and their footsteps
The Sheba
will
Shuffle.
guest star. The Sheba Shuffle. Is that what we're
Shuffle
calling
live and in the flesh.
Dun, dun. That sounds fantastic. So, I mean, I guess all we can really say is thanks for listening. I mean, we're glad that you guys tuned in for the first one, and we hope you stick around for the second and the third and the fourth and so on and so forth.
Yeah. In the meantime, check us out online, COGconnected.com, on YouTube, COGconnected. Basically,
Twitter.
everywhere
I think
social
Instagram.
COGconnected.
I think it's everywhere COGconnected.
Yeah. Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah,
Got it.
The
Do it all.
Facebook. Do it all. And we look forward to entertaining you for many more months and years to come.
Yeah, you don't even have to read. You can just click, click, click. I mean, don't even read. Just click away.
But if you do read,
It's like the
very
podcast. Download, but don't listen. Just give us the downloads.
Just click away because we broke.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.
That's a good way to end it. Because we broke.
Download, don't listen.